Money, money, money. Let me be very straight. What if everything you've been told about money is quietly keeping you broke? From the moment you were young, you were handed a script: study hard, get a stable job, save money, and someday you'll be financially secure. It sounds reasonable. It sounds safe. But it's also dangerously incomplete. Because while you've been following that script, something else has been happening behind the scenes. A different set of rules, unspoken, invisible, and incredibly powerful, has been shaping who actually builds wealth and who stays stuck chasing it. And the scariest part? Most people never even realize they're playing the wrong game. They spend years working harder, pushing themselves, sacrificing time and energy, believing that effort alone will eventually pay off. But instead of moving forward, they stay in the same cycle, earning, spending, repeating. It feels like progress, but it's actually motion without direction. And slowly, almost invisibly, time slips away. This isn't about laziness or lack of ambition. It's about misunderstanding how the system truly works. Because once you see it clearly, once you understand the real rules of money, you can't unsee it. And that's the moment everything begins to change. Here's the truth that sounds right, but quietly works against you. Saving money will make you rich. It's advice that's repeated everywhere. Spend less than you earn, put money aside, and over time you'll build wealth. But here's what no one tells you. Saving alone is not a wealth strategy. It's a preservation strategy, and in today's world, even that is fragile. Because while your money sits still, inflation keeps moving. Prices rise, purchasing power shrinks, and what once felt like security slowly erodes. You don't see it happening day to day, but over years, the difference becomes massive. Meanwhile, those who understand the system treat money differently. They don't just store it, they deploy it. They put it into assets, investments, opportunities that generate more money. And that's the shift most people never make. They focus on protecting money instead of growing it. The poor trade time for income, constantly working to earn more. The wealthy flip that equation. They use money to create more time. And once you understand this distinction, you begin to see why some people seem to move ahead effortlessly, while others feel stuck no matter how hard they try. It's not about effort. It's about leverage. You can earn more money than you ever imagined and still feel completely broke. It sounds contradictory, but it happens every single day. Because income is not the same as wealth. Income is what you earn. Wealth is what you keep and grow. And if there's no gap between those two, you're not progressing, you're maintaining. Many people increase their income, but their lifestyle rises with it. Better salary, bigger expenses. More money, more pressure. It's a cycle that feels like success from the outside but creates dependency on the inside. The real game is not about how much you make. It's about how much control you have. Control over your spending habits, your financial decisions, and your long-term thinking. Because money amplifies behavior. If your habits are undisciplined, more money will magnify that chaos. If your habits are intentional, more money becomes a powerful tool for growth. That's why financial success is less about opportunity and more about behavior patterns. The numbers matter, but the psychology matters more. And until that internal shift happens, external change rarely lasts. What if the path you've been following was never designed to make you financially free? Think about it. The traditional system teaches you to trade your time for money, hour after hour, year after year. You're encouraged to stay busy, stay productive, stay consistent. And while those things sound positive, they often keep you locked into a cycle of constant effort with limited freedom. Because if your income depends entirely on your time, there's a ceiling you can't break. You can only work so many hours. You can only stretch yourself so far. And eventually, you reach a limit. But the people who build real wealth don't rely solely on time-based income. They build systems. They create assets that generate money independently of their daily effort. Businesses, investments, scalable opportunities. These are the things that separate financial independence from financial survival. The system doesn't stop you from building wealth, but it doesn't guide you there either. It keeps you focused on short-term stability instead of long-term freedom. And unless you consciously step outside that path, you can spend decades moving without ever truly advancing. The biggest barrier between you and financial freedom isn't money, it's identity. Because at the core of every financial decision is a belief system. What you believe about money shapes how you use it, how you pursue it, and how you respond to opportunities. If you believe money is limited, You'll act cautiously, avoiding risks, protecting what little you have. If you believe money can grow, you'll start thinking differently, looking for ways to expand, multiply, and create value. This shift is subtle, but it's powerful. Because before your results change, your thinking has to change. And most people never make that transition. They stay within familiar patterns, repeating the same financial behaviors, expecting different outcomes. But growth requires discomfort. It requires stepping into uncertainty, making decisions that feel unfamiliar at first. And that's where transformation begins. Not with a sudden breakthrough, but with a gradual shift in how you see the world. Because once your perspective changes, your actions follow. And once your actions change, your results inevitably begin to shift. So how do you actually break out of this cycle and start building real wealth? It doesn't begin with a massive leap. It begins with awareness. Recognizing that the rules you've been following might not lead where you want to go. From there, it's about small, intentional changes. Learning how money works. Understanding investments. Developing skills that increase your earning potential. And most importantly, starting before you feel ready. Because waiting for the perfect moment is one of the most expensive mistakes you can make. Progress doesn't require perfection, it requires consistency. Small actions, repeated over time, create momentum. And that momentum compounds into something powerful. The process is not glamorous. It's quiet, steady, often unnoticed by others. But that's exactly how real change happens. Not overnight, but over time. And those who stay consistent, who keep moving forward even when progress feels slow, are the ones who eventually see the biggest results. At the end of it all, money is not just about survival, it's about freedom. The freedom to make choices without constant financial pressure. The freedom to spend your time intentionally instead of trading it endlessly for income. And that kind of freedom doesn't come from luck or chance. It comes from understanding the system and choosing to operate differently within it. Most people will hear ideas like this and continue living the same way. Not because they can't change, but because change feels uncomfortable. It challenges Pravuchki that feels safe even when they're limiting. But a small percentage of people will take this as a turning point. They'll start questioning their habits, adjusting their decisions, and gradually building a different future. And over time, those small shifts create massive results. The question is not whether the system works. The question is whether you're willing to learn how to work within it differently. Because once you do, everything begins to change.
Consider subscribing to our channel. By subscribing, you'll become part of our growing community eager to take control of their financial futures.